Today we are going to be working in the underground movie theater, and we are going to be working in the basement. Hey everybody, you're watching Cole the Corn Star, and welcome to the 100% restoration and remodel of my great-great-grandfather's $7,000 mansion, and welcome to Corn Star Farms. So for today's project, before we get started working in the underground movie theater, we need to walk over to this giant I-beam that we have sitting out in the driveway. We have some preparation to do on this bad boy. As we can see here, we have a grinder. We need to get this thing cleaned up and prepared to be welded on, because down in the existing basement, we have a project that we need to finish before we get started over here. So we have recently built a wall down in the basement that is holding up the kitchen floor. So this is the kitchen right above my head, and this is the new wall that we just built. This wall is 100% ready to rock and roll, but that big I-beam that we just looked at, that is going to go right here. So today, once Roman gets that done outside, we're going to bring that I-beam in, and we are going to get that over here. We're going to lift it up to the ceiling. We're going to finish the wall that is going to be underneath of the I-beam, and then we are going to get the other end welded to this existing I-beam. Once we have that done, we should probably get this big beam out of here at some point, and then we are going to move over into the underground movie theater. We need to get this big pile of rubble out of here. We need to get all the trash cleaned up. We need to get all the rubble over here cleaned up, and then we will be ready to come in with some string lines and be able to figure out where the edges of our footings and foundation walls are going to go, so that way we can get everything marked out. And then once we have everything marked out, we will be ready to start doing some digging for our concrete footings. Now, I don't like to do this, but we're gonna leave Roman to get started on that beam by himself. I have a meeting with my dad in the dryer shack because we need to talk to the IRS because they claim we owe them $25,000 in taxes when our accountant says that we don't owe them anything. So we need to get this straightened out.
The beam is here. I was thinking I can actually shove it a little further in, but the welder being here, as you can tell, that wouldn't make it. And I didn't want to move this beast because all it does is buries itself in the rock and extremely heavy. So before we move that, there's a few things we need to do. First, trim this off flush with this board because that's where the I-beam is gonna come to. Then second, find the center, drive the screw, and have it ready for our winch. And then third, clean up the area where we're gonna be welding the beam to. Our I-beam is 78.5 inches, so divided by 2 is 39.25, I believe. So that's where we're gonna measure along our line. And of course it lands right on the floor joist, which we're gonna probably go on this side. Here we have it. Jack number 1 is in place. The beam as tight as I would want it to be. And we're gonna cut 2 more to secure this end, so we can start messing with that end without being afraid that it's gonna fall. Unfortunately, we have about 1/16 of an inch gap here. It's very unpleasant. You cannot have that. And I frankly don't know even how this happened, but this just shows how important the precision of your cuts in places like that. This is basically half of the blade width, and it's already making this part no good. So we need to fix it with shims, and that's why we're trying to be so precise in places like that, because over time it's just gonna sag down, close that gap. And if you have too many places throughout your house that have that, your house is just gonna be shifting and moving around. See how our beam is not in line with the wall? We need to fix that, so we're gonna set the laser so we have a nice reference line, and we're gonna just tweak it back into the place where it's gonna be all lined up, and it's gonna be the last step before we're ready to weld. There we have it. Fixed. While inspecting everything, if everything looks good and ready to go, I found this little nail that's sticking out, and there is no way to pull it out. And we cannot have it because if when we jack the beam up, it's just gonna be stressing the board and most likely creating more pressure than we need to on this joist and creating a bubble. So we need to take the Sawzall and trim it.
Oh, hello there. We just got done with our IRS phone call. By this point, Roman probably has the I-beam completely up installed. He probably has lunch cooked, and he's probably waiting for me to get over there to be able to help him. So what is going on with the IRS is they claim that we owe them $25,000. Our CPA says we do not. So we just got a letter from the IRS saying, hey, you owe us $25,000. No, hey, this is what you didn't pay on or anything. We literally don't know what it's for, and our CPA doesn't either. So we've tried to call the IRS in the past, and they say, well, you can't speak on behalf of your own company because you're not authorized in the system. So we ended up going through a little process to get authorized. There's some paperwork that took like 30 days to be able to get approved. And so we are now authorized. We called again today, and the guy's like, yeah, I'd basically like to be able to help you, but it's just numbers and codes on my screen. I don't actually know what you owe for. Somebody's gonna have to get a hold of you. So we're still going around and around with this. We just got a letter in the mail yesterday saying they are going to file a lien on us in 30 days if we do not pay them. And we're like, well, at least tell us what we supposedly owe you for first. And we haven't got that answer yet. So this is still a bit of an ongoing thing. Hopefully they call us and we can get this figured out so then we can prove our stance. And I guess if we owe money, we owe money, but we don't think that we do. All right, Roman, I am back. How are you making out? Holy cow, you got it up just like I guessed.
Well, it's not welded. Sorry.
Wait, you don't have that done yet?
No.
Jeez, what's taking you so long?
All these little things. I need to take the Sawzall now because of the nails sticking out, or something else, or you know.
Unbelievable. It's hard to find good help nowadays.
I'll try my best to get better.
And just like that, as quick as I'm in, I'm now coming back out. I have a meeting with Les, our banker.
I know I keep saying the last thing before we weld, but I promise you these are gonna be the 2 very last things we need to do before we're ready to weld. One of them is that I don't like this gap, how much space there is. So we need to take our boards from there and try to shift the beam this way to close it. And a second that we'll have to put the bottle jack underneath and make it tight against the floor joist so it's nice and tight up against there before we weld. We're just one step away from being able to weld this beam up, and it's jack this thing up and make it tight and level and then weld. Let's check it out. Ooh, I like that. Nice and snug. Might give it a couple more pumps, but we don't want to push on the floor joist too much. For the welder, ideally we want it to be outside because of the exhaust, but being for this pipe being away, I hope it's just gonna be blowing far away enough so we don't have all this fumes in here and stuff, because I don't want to pull it out much more just because of these cables are not very long, and I hope this is gonna reach, which it will. That's great, but this is basically as far as we can go with it, so we'll give it a try.
And after about an hour, I'm now done with my banker meeting. Without going into the weeds on it too much, every year our banker, Les, he puts together financial statements for us. And we are currently applying for a United States Department of Agriculture grant where we take our grain dryer that is not very efficient, and it's like a 1990, and then we update it with something that is way more efficient. And there is government dollars out there right now that will pay up to 50% of the project if you basically meet the criteria that they're looking for on making things efficient enough. And so in order to apply for that, we have to fill out a thing through a grant writer, and the grant writer wants all of our financial history over the past several years. And so Les came out, he helped me get together all the stuff that they already had, and then we had to calculate some stuff for like current financial standing on things, and there was some stuff that I didn't know how to do. So Les came out, he helped me get all that crunched out, so we should be all good to go now. So anyway, while I was off taking care of that, it looks like Roman has got our jacks up on the side. He got the I-beam all the way up in place. This thing is nice and tight to the ceiling. Look at that. That is an absolute thing of beauty. And he got some welding done. This side is all welded up. That just looks like a nice stack of nickels. And then this side is not done yet, but he is going to get working on it here shortly. So while Roman is doing that, since that is a one-guy job, I am now going to head out to the underground movie theater. I really need to get this pile of rubble picked up, but I think before we do that, I may mess around with some dimensions and maybe see if I can get some flags laid out or something, so that way we can see where the walls of the underground movie theater are going to be located. Think about it, the more I feel like I should probably just get that pile out of here, because if it rains, this area is going to be a little bit wet, especially getting equipment in to be able to get that, where if it rains, I can still go down there and lay strings down to make boundary edges. So we're gonna get rid of that pile first, and then we are going to lay down some borders. I'm gonna have a little run around for just a few minutes here, because right now in the back of the dump truck, we have some burned wood, we have some burned papers, and we have some burned cardboard. So I need to go dump this first and then come back and get the concrete. So we're gonna have just a little bit of running around. Hopefully this starts. It's been kind of having problems lately and we don't know why. Well, it's not very convenient. Well, conditions are not ideal, because I would like to just be able to load up this big rubble pile and get it out of here right away, but since I cannot get the dump truck to start, we are not going to let something like this rubble pile stop us from laying out our boundary dimensions of the underground movie theater. So I am just going to simply scoop into this with the skid loader, and we're gonna find some spot up there by the big dirt pile to put it, and then once we get the dump truck running later, or we get Zach's dump trailer over here, then we'll just get this loaded up then. So basically we're just going to be handling it twice. Not ideal, but also not the end of the world. I think we are done with the telly down here, so I'm gonna get this out of here. Then we have a little bit more room to wiggle around with the skid loader. Good afternoon, skid loader, and whoa, whew, that smells like rotten corn. Yuck.
Let's see what we got. Could be better, but I feel like it's pretty solid, no voids, and not the ugliest one as well. If you're a welder, please rate my job. I would like to see what you think for amateur, self-taught welding job.
Oh boy. The problem that I'm running into is I don't really know where to put this pile of rubble. Well, I guess we kind of have some stuff right here, so it's fitting, I suppose.
We're gonna be done with the welding, I believe, and the welder will have to come back to the owner. Since we have an opportunity, we're gonna do another side job and fix this real quick. See how this side is? That's how we need to make that side. This bracket is all fixed up. Now I can see the other one is ready to crack too, so we'll try to flip it around and do the same thing. Reinforce the cracks and not let it break just like this one did.
Remember that rain that I was just talking about? Well, looky what we have here. Well, it looks like it rained just enough to kind of wet the sidewalk a little bit. I think we are still going to be a-okay finishing out down there. We have just a little bit of rubble down below, and then we have a little bit up on this top shelf. So hopefully I can get these two things done before it starts to get dark. And just like that, with the last bit of trash thrown in the skid loader bucket, we now have this area completely cleaned up. This is a nice, clean working environment, and we have a nice, clean working environment over here. Once we get back in the morning, we are going to be ready to lay down some boundaries. Before I do go home, I would like to give Roman an extreme compliment right here. He did all of this by himself. He put in these jacks, he got the beam prepared, he got the beam up there, he got the beam in here, and then Roman says he is not a welder, but take a look at these welds. He just took the stick welder and just came up here, watched some YouTube videos, and man, that looks absolutely beautiful. So good job, Roman. All right, I'm gonna get this skid loader put away for the night, and then we will be back in the morning and we will get the outline of the underground movie theater laid out. It is now the next day. It's just about lunchtime. This morning was Ronnie, our trucker's visitation and funeral. So Dad and I and Cooper went to the visitation, and so we got to see Ronnie one last time and visit with his family. It was a really nice funeral, and there was a lot of people there. So we just got back from that, and before we go start working on the house, our soybeans are extremely close to being ready to be harvested. So my house is right there on the horizon. You can see the Ben site. So we are on the other end of the mile in the corner of the field that we call Luke and Ashley's. This is Grandpa's farm, but this corner is Luke and Ashley's. And we may be trying to get the combine out here today into these beans, because these look like they are ready to go.
They're looking good. They're cracking good. I suppose time we get out here and stuff. I do want to walk further in that way because I can see some green in the rows, but I can't tell if it's just from here, or so we want to check that out quick.
Oh, silly, silly weed. What are we doing here? That's a nasty one. Look at all those seeds.
Yeah, I know. It's a, you know, I was reading an article today. They said even though if you don't have any in your field and the neighbor half a mile, quarter mile away has them, just floating through the air can come over to yours. like,
sure. Oh, and then birds eat them and throw them in. And got a big one right here. Oh, boot poisoning. Whoops. When we're looking at beans this time of year, we're looking for a few things. The first thing is we want to make sure that there's no more green left in the plant, because if we have a bunch of green in the plant, like these little baby stems like this, that's not going to affect anything. But if the main stem of the plant like that is all green, the combine is just not going to cut it. So looking at these beans, I'm not really seeing any green stems. So we passed our green stem check. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna come up to the pods, and then we're just gonna roll them in our fingers. And if they split open, just like this one did, where it exposes the bean on the inside, that means that the pod is ready. And then last but not least, we need to check the beans. We're gonna bite them between our teeth, and if they crack, then that means they're dry enough. So here we go. Barely cracked. So still probably dry enough. We're gonna test a few. You usually gotta do like 10, and then if you have 7 out of 10 that are cracking, then you're good to go. The first day in the fields is always one of those things where you think you're gonna come in and get a bunch of stuff done, and you never do, because you're trying to get stuff set up, trying to remember how to run the combine from the year prior. You find that one thing that you forgot to fix and then have to fix. You just find all the gremlins of the things that broke during the winter time. Somehow it's a very real thing. You park it in the shed, you pull it out, you service it, you get it in the field, and somehow something breaks literally like 3 minutes in to you getting started on it. So by the time we actually get the stuff out here to the field now, get things set up, figure out how to get the combine dialed in, we have some pretty good sun today. It's supposed to be about 80 degrees. Got a little breeze coming through too. The beans should basically be a perfect condition to be able to run into by the time we actually fully get things running. So I'm gonna head over to the farm. It's just about lunchtime. I think Dad is going to run into the grocery store. They are grilling today, so he's gonna pick up some food for everybody, so that way we can just kind of keep working. It looks like Cooper is pulling up to the stop sign here right now. We'll roll down the window and see what he has to say. It looks like it's good to go. We're gonna, Dad's gonna go get lunch. Sounds like they're grilling. And if we want to get things set up equipment wise, for sure this corner 40, and then if we get that done, then I guess we can go from there and see. Down at Dad's house, it looks just a little green yet.
You guys block it?
Yeah. If you look down in this ditch right here, Cooper and Zach have been running the batwing mower, cleaning up the ditches. They also did the same thing across the road over here on tabletop. So currently the John Deere tractor is on the batwing, and we are going to have to unhook the batwing and put that on our Brent 674 grain cart, because our 340 is still in the shop getting the engine put back together. It's getting a rebuilt engine put in it, and that sounds like it's not going to be done until maybe the end of the week. So we are going to be running the smaller grain cart today. It's not the end of the world. The good thing is we're literally half a mile from home. My house is right there, so we don't have a big skip and hop, and we're going to be bringing all the beans home. So I'm going to run over to the house now, check in with Roman, just make sure he is going to be a-okay, and if he needs help with anything, and if he needs any lunch. And then we're going to get some equipment out, and I guess harvest has started. Oh, hey Roman, how you making out?
A little bit of headache to figure out how to make something parallel to stuff like that. Being 8 and 14 feet below. Cannot see the laser, but old trusty bob line. Plumb bob.
There you go. Plumb string.
Oh, twisty string.
Well, I have good news and I have bad news.
Well, let's start
What do you want first?
from bad news.
Okay. The bad news is, well, it's not really bad news. The news is the beans are ready. So I guess the bad news is you'll have to work by yourself, which could be the good news, because then I'm not bothering you.
Exactly.
So here's our plan of attack for today and everything that everybody is going to be doing. We are going to try to start combining underneath of that back wind turbine. So Cooper and Zach are currently on the way to the field with the combine and the bean head. Dad just ran to the store to go get some lunch. It sounds like they're grilling today. And then Roman is going to keep working down here. So Roman honestly has the hardest job of everybody, because he is trying to make sure that the footings and foundational walls that we are going to be pouring in the underground movie theater are square off of the existing house, which looking at that foundation that is all jagged and rough, what do you use as your starting reference point? So that's what makes this job so difficult. And then also due to the fact that you have to transfer it from that wall down to the ground, and then once you're on the ground, then you have to somehow transfer your line down 5 more feet where Roman is standing. So this is definitely not a in and out 2-minute task. And then once Roman gets those lines laid down, he is going to take the grade laser and get this thing set up, and he is going to figure out if we need to take off a few more inches of soil here in the main area in order to get it lower, because we are looking to have a 14-foot ceiling, and with the grade that we're at right now, we're not quite sure if we are going to achieve that, but he will be able to tell us once he gets grade set with the laser. By this point, Zach and Cooper are probably waiting for me out in the field with the combine, but we need to go to Ag Leader's website right here, and we need to download the new software onto our Ag Leader monitor. So I'm just on their website. I go right here. We have the In-Command 1200 monitor in the combine. So we're going to click on this. It's going to give us something to download. We'll pop it on our USB stick, and then we'll just bring this out into the field. We'll plug this into the combine. It'll take about 2 minutes to update, and then we will have the new update. In-Command 1200 9.5. That is the one we need. Download. I'd say that Cooper and Zach are not messing around. They already got the bat wing off. They got the grain cart on the John Deere, so they are now waiting for me. I just got this downloaded, so check this out. We just drag it from our desktop, then boom, right into our folder, and it is now on our USB stick.
First day of bean harvest, hopefully. Got the combine out here, got the header on, and got everything set pretty close to where it needs to be. We'll get started, then we'll have to make minor adjustments there, but we're kind of where we need to be. Currently waiting for Dad here to get with lunch. I gotta adjust, forgot to, there's a, call it a whale tail. It goes underneath the spreaders. For corn, you drop it. For beans, you push it all the way up. Well, I forgot to move that, so I'm waiting for him to get here with tools as well. So we're gonna do that. Zach just got here at the grain cart. Hopefully these beans will go. Nice and brown. There's some green here and there. But overall, I think this 40 acres is about ready. So we're gonna sit here and wait for Dad to get here. We gotta get a semi out. Then hopefully we'll be going. So there's this fin right here they call the whale tail. Like I said, in corn, you drop it down, beans raise it up to get it closer to your fins here. And right now we're down. So we need to get that pushed up to try to blow the trash as far as we can as possible. So we'll just sit here and wait.
Hey, am I okay to turn the key on for just a little bit? Okay, got the lower monitor on. You can probably turn this upper one on. I don't think we need GPS signal to download this. Hard to believe that it is harvest time already. It just does not feel like it. This head is ginormous. So this is our Ag Leader In-Command 1200 monitor. We just have a USB port right on the side, so we'll stick our stick in. And then once that's in there, then we should be able to hit this menu up here, go to data transfer, and then, oh, see, look at that. The steering control module upgrade required. It is out of date, so good thing we are updating. Updates available. Perfect. It just pops up for us. Holding the auger in. Zach and Dad are out of the way over there. I'm gonna ride with Cooper. We're gonna be doing quite a little bit of in and out, going on the initial testing here just to make sure everything's running right. You get out, you look at the ground, make sure you're not spitting stuff out the back. You look in the grain tank. If you got too much trash, we make adjustments. If beans are cracked, we make adjustments, and then we just kind of keep messing with it until we get it where we like it. And then once we get it where we like it, then we'll just be able to keep going back and forth. But the initial setup here, it's definitely a little bit of an in and out. You get your workout in, that is for sure. So for harvest lineup this year, on the little grain cart, we have our 1980 John Deere. So this tractor is over 40 years old. This is about 180 horsepower tractor, so it's 2-wheel drive. So we do not have the front wheels assisting us in any way. They are just for steering. And then behind it, we have at one of our little grain carts, we actually have 2 of these. So this is a Brent 674 bushel grain cart, or a Brent 674 is the model. I believe it is about a 600 bushel grain cart. So this is our one of 2. This one's a little bit nicer than the other one. At least the paint on this one looks a little bit nicer, and this one I believe is just a little bit newer, but they are both the identical model and they basically look the same. The one's just a little bit more faded. And then for a combine, we have a 2013 Case IH 9230. So this is a Class 9 machine. So in 2013, when they built this, this was the biggest combine that Case IH made. I believe it has like a 517 horsepower engine in it. We can unload almost 4 bushels per second out of the unloading auger, and then the big black grain tank up on top that holds 410 bushels. So when that is heaping full and we're combining along and the grain cart comes underneath of it, and we stay combining while we're unloading, basically one good unload on the go in soybeans is going to fill that entire grain cart, and then that will go dump on the semi, which we do not have any of the semis here. And then on the front of the combine, we have a 45-foot head. This is also a 2013 model, so just like the combine, they are the same age. And then this big black tube right here with the silver tubes going off of it, this is a Prairie air bar system. So there's a big leaf blower right on the side of the combine right there, and it forces air up into this thing down these silver tubes. And then when we're going along, when beans are falling into the head, if they start to get cracked open early and go to fall on the ground, it falls into that wind stream, and then it gets thrown into the head instead of onto the ground. So that means we keep those beans in the grain tank instead of letting them rot on top of the ground and go to waste. Cooper, Dad, and Zach are gonna keep messing with the combine a little bit. I think they got it pretty close. Once they get that set up, they're gonna need to start getting other things out there in the field, like the semis, to be able to actually truck the soybeans from the field here to the grain bin. So while they are doing that, I actually need to run up to our tax guy. He has a paper that I need, and the IRS did get a hold of me today, and they think they potentially found what the mistake was, but I need to send them a document for them to basically check their list off to compare the numbers and make sure that what they think is actually the way that it is. So hopefully that $25,000 that they say we owe them will disappear. So we'll find out here in a little bit. I got about a half-hour road trip, and then we will be back into the field. I just got done at the CPA's office and driving back here. It looks like Zach and Cooper are making a good little dent on the corner of Luke and Ashley's. They're getting everything outlined right now, so it looks like Cooper's just picking off the last of the end rows right here along the road. And then once he has these done, then it's gonna be going back and forth on the nice long stuff. Looks like Dad is here dumping a semi while I was at the house. I stopped and seen how Roman was making out. He's having a little bit of a head scratching day. He's never set up the string lines like what we're trying to do, so he was just having a learning event. And while I was in the house, I bought some cantaloupe a couple days ago, and it has fermented and it tastes like apple cider vinegar. So I have a not so good taste in my mouth right now, and I'm gonna throw this away. Then we're gonna ride with Dad in the semi for a little bit. We're gonna see how the combine's making out. And then once it starts to get a little bit darker, I'm gonna hop down into the underground movie theater, and we're gonna try to use the laser to set up some lines, because the string method today, Roman said it wasn't really working the best. So we're gonna double check what Roman did with the laser when it's dark, when we can actually see it. So it looks like a couple hours into harvest, we already have our first breakdown of the season right here at the very base of the auger. This is the part that actually spins the auger straight from the tractor. This is the PTO shaft. So this transfers into this bearing right here. And if we wiggle this, we have all sorts of movement. We shouldn't have any movement in there whatsoever. So the little balls that are in the bearing must have came out. So this bearing is now bad. So now we need to take this entire assembly apart here, take this chain off, get everything all open exposed, take this gear off. Then once that's off, then we should be able to take these 4 bolts off of the bearing, pull everything off, and then we'll go to the parts store, we'll pick up a new bearing, put the new one back on, and hopefully we can get this back going again. We got all the fasteners off of this yoke, but it is just stuck on there, so we're fighting that a little bit. So we got to get this off before we can do anything else. But Zach just called, and they are full in the grain cart, so we're gonna go out and let them fill the semi up so they can at least keep running for a little bit longer. Then hopefully in between grain cart dumps, we'll be able to get that apart. We got the choice between the gray Freightliner and Elmer. Elmer has the new trailer on it. Well, the new to us trailer. This trailer actually used to belong to Ronnie, but we bought it from him. And I think I'm gonna take Elmer. Better remember how to drive the semi. It's been a little while. I wish wish I could get my seat to go up a little bit. For whatever reason, I can't get air to pump into it. It's sitting all the way on the floor. Oh, there we go. Now it worked. Perfect. Okay, we are on the way to the field. There's something incredibly satisfying about watching the combine dump onto the grain cart, and watching the grain cart dump into the semi equally as satisfying. Watching the semi dump into the auger, into the grain bin, equally as satisfying. We're gonna leave that semi here so that way they can finish up on this field. Jack's gonna fill the rest of this semi. Dad and I are gonna go back and see if we can get that auger fixed. There we go. Just like that, we got everything all off. We had to fight this a little bit. We got all the parts down there that we're going to be putting back on, and then Zach is going to go in and find out exactly what we need for the shaft size and the diameter for it. But looks like Cooper and Zach did get back. They got that other semi full that I brought out. We have a little issue on the combine. There was a plug for the automatic height control that I guess came apart, so we need to get a new one of those. And looking out at this valley right here, all the dust is already starting to settle in there, and it is not moving, so we have still air, which means that the dew is going to set in relatively quickly tonight. So we got the 40 acres done over there in the corner. Both these semis are now full, so when we get the new parts in the morning, we'll get that back on, empty both of these semis out, and then hopefully we have some more beans ready. It actually worked out perfect that we finished the auger and Zach and Cooper are done, because it allows me to work down here in the underground movie theater a little bit. Now that it is dusk, Roman laid 2 rebar stakes in the back corner there. He measured off of the wall from earlier out to where we needed to be, so both of those are the same distance from the house back there. I am going to grab my laser, because my laser can lay down a 90-degree angle on the ground. So instead of us doing this the super hard way, I'm just going to go lay my laser crossing that stake to that stake, and then that will give us a perfect 90-degree over to the corner of the house. And then with it being dark, I should be able to see my line on the ground, and hopefully I should be able to see it right here on the corner of the house. So that way we'll be able to get lined up perfectly, and then we'll just put some stakes in where our laser is on the ground. Then when it's light tomorrow, we already have lasered lines that we already know are straight, so let's tie a string between them, pull it tight, and then we'll have our perfect edges. So let's see how this works. I haven't actually ran this laser before because Roman always does it, so we're gonna figure it out. So if we look at our laser, this makes perfect 90-degree angles on the ground. So we have a rebar stake right here. So I'm gonna take this laser line that is shooting that direction, and I need to get it smack center in the piece of this rebar right here. So we're just gonna adjust the laser over a little bit. This is a little bit of a delicate process right here, but we're gonna get it figured out. We're on the rebar there. Now, we need to get the laser line smack in the center of that piece of rebar over there. And, okay, we're on it there. And we need to get this laser line right up the side of the house, which I am off by about a foot. Look how handy that is. Just perfectly straight line. Don't have to mess with the string, no nothing. Let's see where we're lined up here on the wall. I gotta be careful, because if I stand in front of the line, it blocks it. Okay, we are right here on the inside corner of the house. So that means we probably need to go that way with the laser just a few inches. We'll try like 2 inches. I want to try to go right off the corner of that block. It's kind of cool using the laser when it's dark. Now, we don't have a constant stream on the ground because the way that the gravel lays, some areas get shadowed out, but look at that thing. Just snaps a perfect straight edge, goes all the way to the top of the house. You can see we got our 90-degree corner right here. The tripod that it's on is blocking us straight below a little bit, but I was able to get a piece of rebar right on the crosshairs. So we got a piece laid right there. You can see it along the wall. So we are smack in the center of the line there. I got another piece over here. You can see it right there. We got it smack in the center. And then we are smack in the center up there where we hammer drilled right to the side of the foundation and put in a wedge bolt. So now we should be good on this side. I'm gonna pick this up And I'm gonna bring it over to where we have the stake on the other side. Oh yeah, I do have a stake right there as well that we'll be able to use as reference. But now I need to move it over here, and then we are going to do this exact same thing on the corner of the house, but over on the other corner. It took me a little bit of finagling around on this side, but we got our laser up on the house right where we need it to be. Now that it's really dark, it's super easy to see. And then the past laser line that I laid down, I got my rebar stake lined up right here. And then I also did the same thing over there. You can see the one right at the end of my finger, and then right against the wall where the line starts to go vertical, we got it lined up there. So we got the back perfectly straight, and then we got it on the area of the house where we needed it. So we have our 90-degree corner right here. So I got stakes down at the ends of the laser all the way around. So now when we come back during the day, instead of having the laser, we'll just be able to pull a string across this, and then we'll be able to have the exact same thing. So we got this wrapped up now. So there we have it. We got our wall done. We got the I-beam up. Everything is all welded in. We got the area outlined where the underground movie theater walls are going to be. We got started combining soybeans. We have a breakdown on an auger. We have a breakdown on the combine. I'd say we got a lot of stuff done, and I am tired, so I'm gonna call it a night. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.